Alright, so what do you do if your chondro has to go to the bathroom and it's not going? Just stay tuned, I'm going to show you how I handle it. Still phlegmy, still gross. Right, so I have another chondro question, and this one is, once again, from Carly Jones. Shout out to Carly. Would you ever do a video about bowel movement, like question and answer, when to be concerned and when it's too early to intervene, rain chambers, soak in warm water, get them out of the enclosure, / hand walking, you're the man regardless. Thank you. So if we're talking about chondros specifically, it's pretty well documented and known that they never go to the bathroom. Compared to colubrids and other carpets and stuff like that, they really don't go that often. The babies go all the time, but when you get to the adult size, you're talking I don't know, mine go maybe once or twice a month, if that. And so they're notorious for sort of holding on to their bowels. And so to combat that, there's a few things people do. The main thing is they'll do like a rain chamber. So if they can tell that their chondro is backed up, they'll do a rain chamber, which is basically they'll either buy a Mist King system, which are expensive. I've done them before where I just set up a tub, put the had perch holders in that tub, and then I had the snake on the perch. And then I just used a hand mister like this right here, filled it up with some room temperature water, maybe lukewarm, nothing hot. And I put there's a little lock button on it. So I just put that lock button on there and let it shower them for a few minutes. And with the one or two that I was doing that with, it seemed to work pretty well. After a few minutes, give her maybe 5 or 10 minutes or so, they would go like clockwork. Something else that I've come to find, which is sort of similar, is that if I can tell my female especially, or even my adult male, if they're backed up, then I'll mist them. I don't want to say heavily, but it's definitely not a light misting. I find that usually it's just that contact, or maybe that feeling, or maybe the smell, whatever, some sort of stimulus of water in a rain-esque sort of pattern seems to trigger something in them that tells them, okay, it's time to go. And we're not really sure exactly why it is they do this, or what it is about water that triggers this. There's a couple theories floating around. One is that when it rains, because these guys are ambush predators, the rain washes away any sort of scent that they would be leaving behind. So if you think about it, if they're in the same position, in ambush position, looking for mice, and the mice can smell that they've been there, or that they're in the general area, it's probably not advantageous for them to be in that area with their crap, or whatever you want to call it. So they think that possibly it could have something to do with their scent and trying to eliminate that from their area that they're hunting in. Other theories could be that it's just they know that when it rains, that means there's food moving, and so it's time to empty out their system and get ready for their next meal, because there's a good chance it's coming. A lot of their food is cyclic, and because Papua New Guinea doesn't really experience seasons sort of like we do, where their temperature, summer, spring, winter, fall, they have rainy and dry seasons. And so in the rainy season, food is really prevalent, it's really abundant, all wildlife is moving around, and it stirs everything up. During the dry season, they don't seem to see as much food as they would when it's raining a lot. With the trigger of rain, that kind of tells them hey, food's coming, time to clear out the system, time to get going. No one really knows for sure yet though. Like I said, those are just theories. Rain chambers seem to work pretty well. I know there's a bunch of people that have tried them and they've had really good success with them. You can do soaking if you wanted to. I have yet to find that necessary, really. I really haven't had that many issues with mine being backed up. They go pretty regularly for a chondro. I do recommend that if you have questions or anything like that, that you join the Morelia Viridis forum Facebook group, which is kind of like the big chondro group. It was the big chondro forum back when forums were popular. There's been multiple posts on this very subject, so I highly recommend, if you're looking into chondros, that you join that group. Search for the post. Don't ask about it. Everyone asks about it in the group. There's a search function, just search it up. It's there. What else? When to be concerned and when it's too early to intervene. Well, before we get into that, so your other option is to just get them moving. Hand walking, handling, getting them to move does seem to work a little bit too. If some people like to take them out in their yard and let them crawl through their grass and stuff like that. I'm not a particularly big fan of that, because you know, down in the south here we have fire ants. There's all kinds of stuff. There's just contact with outside things that I don't really want my snakes to be in contact with. That's personal preference. There's people that do it all the time with no issue. That's your decision. So handling and hand walking, if that's what you want to call it, does seem to make a difference. With most snakes, I find, especially carpet pythons, that if you get them moving and you kind of interact with them a little bit and then you put them back in the tub, or just do what I do and just give them fresh paper towel and they go immediately, it's like a laxative. That usually does get that sort of activates their system a little bit and sort of gets them going, and it does seem to make a difference in some species, in my experience. At what point should you be getting worried? If you can tell that the snake is physically like very backed up, usually when they have to go, especially with chondros, it's fairly obvious because they get really fat in that last section before the cloaca. So it's usually pretty clear when it's time for them to go. Normally when I see mine like that, I know one's coming. I don't really worry about it too much. If it sort of lingers and hangs out around there for, a week or two, then I'll mist them. Sometimes that gets them to go. If that's the case, then they go and get soaked. But with chondros, it's really not a big worry for me, just because I know they hold on to it forever. They'll go when they go. But when you start seeing obvious signs, is it like abnormal swelling? If you feel it and it seems very hard, or you can see that they're actually trying to pass it and they're struggling, then that's definitely the time to look into it and probably make a vet visit a priority. I'm trying to make sure I answer all the questions. Too early to intervene. It's just a matter of, I don't know that there really is necessarily too early to intervene, because like I said, you'll know when they gotta go because it's kind of obvious. There is a point where you need to do something about it. So when you first initially see it, don't worry about it. They'll make it happen. As far as soaking in warm water, you don't want the water to be hot. And my buddy Harlan Wall made a good point of, if you're feeling the water and it feels warm to you, that means it's above your body temperature, because humans run at 93.7, I think, or something like that. 97.3. I'm not a doctor, I don't remember. So basically, if it's warmer than that, or if it's warm to your touch, then you know it's probably warmer than that, so you want it a little cooler. So for us, it might feel on the cooler side or the lukewarm or room temperature side, but to them, it's pretty much exactly where they need it. So soaking, I do it. I mostly resort to soaking for any bad sheds I might have, which can be another video entirely on how I handle those. But the trick is just make sure the water's not too warm. And that's another thing where usually if you leave them in a soak tub for, 15 minutes to half an hour, normally you're gonna see some action and you're gonna see them pass whatever they gotta pass. So, but thank you again, Carly, for the suggestion. If anybody has any more, leave them in the comments as usual. Don't forget to subscribe. If you want more chondro content, please check out my podcast, The Chondro Cast, which I will leave linked in the description below. I'll also leave a link to my Facebook and Instagram page for The Chondro Cast, which you can also check out. Keep them coming. I really enjoy doing videos. I enjoy helping people out. Also gives me an excuse to hold some chondros, since I don't do that too much. I don't really interact with my snakes enough. I'm just so busy, So it's nice to kind of slow down and help people out, and then get to have some one-on-one time with these guys. They're so cool. I'm obsessed with this species, if you couldn't tell already. I want this channel to be a resource for people getting into chondros. I want to cover a lot of the basics and a lot of the common questions and any issues people have, because I feel like the hobby always needs more chondro content. There's not enough people bringing it to us. So doing my part, trying to help. Subscribe, hit the like button, all that good stuff. Thanks, guys.